School counselors, what student made you realize something was terribly wrong? Maya was the brightest kid in her grade, and that was the problem. She had this unnerving adult composure, a quiet watchfulness you don't see in 12-year-olds. She was brilliant in class, but socially, she was a ghost. She always wore the same worn-out hoodie, even in the heat, and I noticed she would often give half of her meager lunch to the younger kids. My job is to help kids plan for the future, but with Maya, I felt like I was just trying to keep her from disappearing into the present. The stakes for me were simple. It was my duty to protect a child who was sending out distress signals no one else seemed to see. The slightly off situation was her constant, elaborate excuses to avoid any after-school programs. I tried to get her into a free coding club I knew she would love. She invented a heartbreakingly detailed story about a sick grandmother she had to rush home to care for every day. It was so specific, so convincing, but something felt wrong. I did a quick check of her official school records. There was no grandmother listed on her emergency contacts. That was the first real red flag. Then I started noticing other things. A faint, persistent smell of baby powder and sour milk that clung to her clothes. One evening, I was at the grocery store and I saw her. She wasn't with a parent. She was alone, pushing a wobbly cart with a calculator in her hand, expertly navigating the aisles. She wasn't buying snacks or magazines. She was buying diapers, baby formula, and a huge bag of rice. My heart just sank. This wasn't a kid running an errand. This was a person running a household. The midpoint twist came at the checkout. I watched from another aisle as she paid with a wad of crumpled $1 bills and carefully counted the change. The exhaustion in her eyes wasn't from homework. It was the bone-deep weariness of an adult carrying an impossible burden. It was a job. Her childhood was her job. I couldn't shake the image. The next day, I decided to do a wellness check at her home address, which was technically against policy, but I didn't care anymore. I drove to the rundown apartment complex listed in her file. I knocked on the door of apartment 2B after a long pause. Maya opened it, just a crack. Her eyes widened in panic when she saw me. Behind her, I could hear a baby crying, a real baby, and a toddler's voice asking for a snack. It all crashed down on me. She wasn't just babysitting. This was her life. Her eyes pleaded with me, a silent scream not to say anything. The door creaked open a little wider, and a little boy, maybe 4 years old, with her same dark eyes, peeked out from behind her leg. He looked up at me and asked, "Maya, is that the food lady?" My heart just shattered into a million pieces. I saw past her into the apartment. It was spotless but almost completely bare. A mattress on the floor, a couple of toys, and 4 little kids, all looking to their 12-year-old sister for everything. I knelt down, my voice barely a whisper, and asked, "Maya, where are your parents?" She finally broke. A single tear rolled down her cheek as she whispered, "Working. They'll be back, soon." But the dust on the mail and the emptiness of the fridge told me soon was a lie. I made the call to Child Protective Services. It was the hardest, most necessary thing I have ever done. They found the parents a week later in another state. The kids were placed with a relative. I had destroyed her world to save it. And now, every Tuesday, I pick her up from her aunt's house for that coding club she never had time for.